Hey guys, Tony here. Today a special video on my channel. Gonna do a collaboration with several channels. Captain Algebra, Do You Nerd, and Hey Dad, Let's Play. Today we're gonna answer 3 questions. What is your all-time favorite console? And if you were on a deserted island with that console, what 3 games would you bring with you? And what's one game that you would totally recommend to avoid? Alright, so thank you to all the channels involved in this collaboration, and let's check it out. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hey everybody, Captain Algebra here, and I'm here with my favorite console of all time, the Super Nintendo. So when Retro Tony asked me this question, it was obvious that's what I was going to go with. When I was born, the NES was already out, my brother had it, and I was pretty young when we got the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. So I was able to play all 3 of these consoles at the same time, and while the NES was great and I loved the Genesis, the Super Nintendo blew me away, and I absolutely loved it. And it was definitely the console that I played the most. I'm not huge into graphics, but just I loved how the games looked. I loved the sound. I loved the music. I loved the games. If I made a top 10 video game list, a lot of games would come from the Super Nintendo. And so it was obvious that that was the console I had to go with. Now when I think of the top 3 Desert Island games for the SNES, these might not be my top 3 games on the SNES, but they're definitely up there for me. First one, Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a really fun action game with almost 50 levels plus bonus areas. I always had a blast playing this game, whether it was co-op or solo. The levels and enemies are interesting, there are boss fights, and a plethora of weapons to try and take everything down. And who doesn't love fighting a 40-foot baby? As a kid, I would always challenge myself to see how long I could go without losing a single victim. It almost always ended on level 7 because of those damn tourists turning into werewolves. I've never beaten this game, but I'd have plenty of time to master it on a desert island.
Number 2, Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars.
I'm not a fan of JRPGs, but Super Mario RPG is one of my favorite games of all time. With timeless characters, simple gameplay, and a good story, this had me hooked immediately upon playing. I've never enjoyed turn-based fighting, but this game seemed different because of the timed hits and being able to reduce damage. Gino was always my favorite character in the game, and it's unfortunate they never made another appearance as a playable character in any game. While I have done most of what this game has to offer, I've never been able to get to 100 jumps in a row with Mario. Hopefully I'd finally be able to get it done if I brought it to the island.
And number 1, one of my favorite SNES games of all time, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest.
Donkey Kong Country 2 might be my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time. It took everything that was great about the first Donkey Kong Country game and just improved on it. While I do miss playing as Donkey Kong, Dixie's hairspin is pretty damn helpful. I love how they added more animal buddies and even let you transform into them in some levels. I've always enjoyed the collectathon aspect of the game and made sure to always get the true ending by finishing the Lost World. This may not be a long game and I have nothing left to do in it, but I can't go to a desert island without this amazing game.
Now, as great as the SNES library is, there are some stinkers, and if there was one game I'd have to avoid, it's Captain America and the Avengers.
A beat-em-up starring Captain America and the Avengers? This has to be good, right? While the Genesis version is great, this version left a lot to be desired. The biggest issue plaguing it is the invincibility frames that the enemies have after every single hit. Beat-em-ups are much tougher if you can't string a combo together. Another difference is Cap's shield does not go through the enemies, severely weakening the best character in the game. I was so excited when I picked this game up a couple years ago, but then I tried to play it and immediately regretted that decision. Avoid this game at all costs.
So there you go. That's my favorite console of all time with some great games on it. I just want to say thanks again for Retro Tony for asking me to be a part of this.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this, and big thank you to Retro Tony for setting this up for us again. We're having a ton of fun filming this one.
Yeah.
And we just want to say, make sure you check out the other two channels that are in the collab too. That's going to be Do You Nerd and Captain Algebra. And we're just going to get right into it. So the question was, my favorite system and 3 desert island picks for that system. And so to me, desert island means you're stuck there, you have to pick 3 games that you would never get tired of playing. So that's what we got it narrowed down to, and we're going to start out with this one right here, Popeye. Now this is my favorite of the older style arcade games. I absolutely love Popeye. The idea of it is you're Popeye, and you're running from Bluto, who's trying to also get the olive oil, and she's throwing different things each level. She's throwing something down to you, and you have to collect it. You collect each of the things, you move on to the next level, right?
Yeah, you have to build a ladder out of.
On the last one, you got to build a ladder. Yep. And the coolest thing is, like all old arcade games, once you beat it, you get to play it again, and it just gets harder and faster. And so that's what I love about it. It's just a great little game. I love Popeye the cartoon. And let's move right along to Contra. I love Contra. Oscar loves Contra. We've played it a lot together. It's a run and gun game. It is maybe one of the greatest 2-player games out there. It's got a great legacy. It's where the Konami code comes from. It's my first time I've ever used the Konami code. And you are 2 guys running through the jungle, fighting bad guys that you find out are aliens, and then you have to fight an alien at the end of the game. It's fantastic. Also, once you beat this game, you get to play it again. And I'll never get sick of it. It's a great game. This next game coming up could be my actual only desert island pick. It's my favorite video game of all time, still today, and it's a perfect video game, and that is Super Mario Brothers. This game is the first video game I ever played, and it's perfection in gaming. Each level tells you exactly how to play the game just by the level design. You start out and all you can do is walk to the right. There's a Goomba coming. You only have 2 buttons. What can you do? You try your buttons, you jump on him, and you learn the mechanics of the game. And each level just builds on that. And it builds and builds, and you can keep playing it, and you can get good at it until you can master it. Anybody can master Super Mario Brothers.
When you go through the pipe at the end of the first level, it tells you how to hit blocks.
Yeah.
You have to hit the block.
Yep, to move on. Yeah, everything about it, every design choice is perfect to teach you how to master that game. And once again, the greatest thing about this game is once you beat it, you get to play it again on a harder, faster difficulty level. And what makes this better than the other 2 is everything that you've learned all the way through it still applies. And you can take the mastery from working your way through it the first time to being great at it again. So, that's why I love this game. And thanks everybody for watching us. That is all we got to say. Make sure you check out these 3 games right here. And we'll talk to you later.
What about the bad game?
Yeah, so just these 3 great games.
Wasn't there supposed to be a game that you should never play?
You know what that means.
Like you said, we never had to play that again. I think I hit something.
Okay, let's see.
Time Lord. Time Lord is not just a game to stay away from, it's possibly one of the worst games ever made. It has a deceptively simple concept. You get 36 real-time minutes to beat the game, And to do it, you wander each stage, collecting 5 orbs so you can move on to the next stage. The problem is, it's such a glitchy mess that the orbs don't always spawn for you. Sometimes they'll be straightforward in the level, sometimes enemies will be holding them, sometimes they don't show up at all until you jump around and kick and punch and swing your sword in certain areas. Sometimes they just refuse to spawn, and so you just have to wander around until you die from enemy attacks or the game is over because your time is up. Sometimes they will spawn, but they'll spawn in a place that your character can't get to. Do yourselves a favor, stay away from this thing. Thanks for hanging out and listening to us, guys. Make sure you check our channel out. Make sure you check out the other guys' channels. Lots of super awesome stuff on Do You Nerd, Captain Algebra, and Retro Tony. But I gotta go. I have to hurry up and get this thing back in the ground before it taints the rest of my collection. Alright, see you guys later.
Hey, nerdlings!
What up, nerdlings?
Well, it is time to talk about favorite console of all time and 3 games that we would take to a deserted island. Let me start off by saying we are probably the worst at picking favorites.
We are.
Anything. If you're picking a favorite, go with the original, right? Come on, the NES. And 3 games that I would take with me to a deserted island, that's easy. Friday the 13th, Back to the Future, and Casino Kid, because I hate these games, and what is going to make me get off that island faster than being stuck there with these?
I kind of had a feeling that you were going the whole sarcastic route.
Okay, so for real, if I'm talking about my favorite console, honestly, it's probably the Super Nintendo, and the reason is simply that I'm super nostalgic for it. A lot of my favorite games were on the Super Nintendo. I probably played this console the most. So again, that whole nostalgic factor, that alone seals me on my favorite console of all time. But if I'm picking a console to take to a deserted island, it's going to be different. The PS4. One of the issues you and I have whenever anyone asks this whole deserted island question is we're a little more analytical about it. So the reason I'm going with the PS4 is there are some games that are going to keep my sanity on that island. First of all, Pac-Man 256. It's Pac-Man, it's endless. The fact that I can just play this for hours and hours on end, it keeps you thinking, it's going to keep me sharp, and you know, it is actually a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I enjoy playing that game.
Now, another one that I'm going to go for to help keep that sanity is going to be Dragon Quest Builders, because you're getting the best of both worlds. You've got a little RPG aspect, you've got that, faint Minecraft aspect to it. So that's going to be one of those games that I could just play and play to no end, and it's going to last me a lot longer than a standard RPG or action-adventure game or anything like that, even if it happens to be one of my favorites. And my last pick to take is Grand Theft Auto 5, because, again, huge open sandbox world, so much to do, and the nice thing about GTA 5 is when I'm getting really lonely on that island, I can just take up like a taxi driver job and pretend I'm back in the civilized world.
Well, and who doesn't love Trevor?
Exactly. There was one other question. What game would you warn people to stay away from on the system of your choice? For me, I'm going with Disney Infinity. And here's why. Plain and simple, you have all of these cool properties like Marvel and Star Wars, plus the Disney universe. You have all of these cool toys to life figures, and you have this game that, in my opinion, drops the ball on how you get to use them. Sure, you get to do whatever you want in the toy box, but when it comes to the stages, can I be Jack Sparrow helping out Iron Man in a battle?
Nope.
Oh, can I be Olaf helping out Han Solo take down Darth Vader?
Nope.
Oh, seems like that would have been fun to do.
My favorite console of all time at the moment would have to be the Nintendo Switch. It's an amazing concept. That's why I like this thing. I can sit here with the kickstand and take the Joy-Cons off or use a controller and play it on the go. I can plug this in and play it on the TV, or I can sit here with him and give him a Joy-Con, I take a Joy-Con, and the two of us can play, or I can just hold it and play with it. I love the versatility of the Switch. The games that I have chosen for this might not necessarily be my favorite games of all time, but they are good playable games, endless playables. But I will say this is probably my favorite game. This kind of does fit both of them. I love Breath of the Wild. It's a fun Zelda game. It's a different take on Zelda, but you've got such an open world. And once you beat the game, you still can just explore the world. You can go to your house, go to sleep, wake up and say, okay, now I've got to farm today. I've got to do this chore today. And quite frankly, if you're hot on the desert island, just climb the snowy mountains.
Nice.
So, the next game, I don't exactly have a physical copy of yet, so I can't show you the game, but it's Let's Go Eevee!
That's the wrong Eevee.
Oh crap, that's the wrong Eevee. No, this one! Let's Go Eevee! First of all, Scarf Dog is adorable, let's face it. But it's another one of those endless games, you know, whether you finish the game or not, you can still just run around and catch Pokemon all day. And you can catch them and train them and raise them or do whatever you want with them. You can throw them away, you can catch them again, all kinds of fun stuff. And you can play with Pokeball. That's so fun. The next game technically isn't out yet, but I love a good Animal Crossing game.
Now that's
you
something
can
that you
play
a
for
while.
hours with Animal Crossing. Take forever to pay your house off. You can go fishing today. You can go farming today. You can go to this town. You can go to that town. There are so many things that you can do with Animal Crossing.
And you can talk to all the characters in Animal
Oh, yeah.
Crossing and just pretend that they're actually there on the island with you. So, you know, you don't go insane and make friends with a volleyball.
But I love Wilson. So the game that I should stay away from, or that you should stay away from, I'm going with Skyrim.
What?
Yeah, let's face it. This is a huge open world game. You're gonna get sucked into this game. You're not gonna even realize that you haven't eaten in 5 days, or you haven't built a shelter, or you haven't tried to get off this desert island because you're doing nothing but playing this game!
That's actually a fair point. At least in my case, it wasn't my favorite console of all time, but I was trying to think ahead to being trapped on that desert island and making sure I had plenty of stuff that keeps me sane until I get out of there.
Well, at least I've got the Switch, so when the sun moves, I can follow the shade, you know, because I don't have to drag a TV around with me. I can just take my Switch and go in the shade.
Well, Nerdlings, we would like to thank Retro Tony for having us as a part of this collaboration. It was a lot of fun trying to figure out exactly what we would take and trying to narrow down what we would pick.
That's hard.
Okay, those were some great picks, great consoles. And yeah, I tend to agree. I would stay away from those games too. They're horrible. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. Yeah, I know guys. Sorry. So I absolutely love the Super Nintendo. I absolutely think it's my favorite system of all time. Hands down, there's no competition. My all-time favorite game is on that console. But being that it's Sega Genesis month, and being that I am a Sega freak and a Sega fanboy, my pick is the Sega Genesis. Oh boy, I absolutely love this console. I grew up with this console, and it was my very first video game console that was just mine. I didn't have to share it. If I didn't want my brother to play on it, he didn't have to play on it. It was mine. There's so many great games on here. So many great memories. The Sonic games, the Phantasy Star games, the Shining Force games, General Chaos, the MK games, Street Fighter. Oh, so many great memories. And I'm going to get into my top 3 choices if I was on a deserted island. Let's talk about it. Alright, so if I was trapped on a deserted island with some power somehow, a Sega Genesis, and a TV, these are the 3 games I'd take with me. Now, they're not the best games on the system or even my favorite games of all time on the system. Some are, some are not. But I would say that these are almost on my top 10, if not top 20 favorite Sega Genesis games of all time. So first, you gotta go with Phantasy Star 4. Oh yeah, a lot of hours, a lot of gameplay here. Shining Force 2. Duh. This is such a great game. I never get sick of it. And then lastly here, Toe Jam and Earl. Oh yeah, there's a specific reason why I did this one other than it just being an awesome game. Okay, we're going to get into the specifics and why I chose these 3 games. So let's talk about it. I have no idea how I would survive on a deserted island unless I had a Sega Genesis. And I would have to take Shining Force 2 with me. This game is an absolute classic, and just the gameplay alone, you're going to have anywhere from 30 to 50 hours of gameplay will keep you busy. I love the characters. I love that you can recruit other characters. The battle system is phenomenal, and guys, I keep coming back to this one over and over and over again. Ever since I was a kid, ever since I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I played this game. Shining Force 2 is an absolute must for me, and I would not leave it behind if I was on a deserted island. The next game I would bring with me on my deserted island trip with my Sega Genesis would be Phantasy Star 4. This is another RPG. I'm an RPG guy. I love them. I love sinking so many hours, so much time, getting invested with the characters into the story, and also I like a good old grind fest. And that's what you have here. You can sink anywhere from 60 to 80 hours into this game. You're going to explore everywhere. There's multiple planets. I love the story. I love the characters. I love Chaz, the main character. And I had never beaten this game. So if I was on a deserted island, I could finally sit back, grind away, and finish this great game. My last choice for my desert island picks, Toe Jam and Earl. This game, a lot of fun. I keep coming back to it. Again, I've been playing this game since elementary school. Come on. The reason I would pick this, there's actually a random world generator. So the choices, the levels are endless. And guys, it's a ton of fun exploring, using the presents. And let's say you are deserted with a buddy. You could play 2-player co-op. And I never get sick of Toe Jam and Earl, at least the first game. So those are my 3 picks that I would take with me on a deserted island. And I'd take the Sega Genesis. Alright guys, so the last question. What game would you avoid on the system? Which game would you just stay away from? It just repulses you. So I'm going to have to go with Green Dog, the beach surfer dude. Do I even have to say anything about this game? I mean, come on, it is pitiful. It is horrible. I mean, it's not the worst game on the system, but man, it's up there. So let's talk about it. Yuck. Ugh. I cannot stand this game. It is atrocious. Green Dog. What kind of name is that? The controls are atrocious. The soundtrack is atrocious. I hate this game. I can't get anywhere in this game. It's that difficult. It's that clunky. Stay away from this game. It is not good. I don't care what GameSack has to say about this game. It's trash. It's garbage. Stay away. Alright guys, I want to give a huge shout out to each channel. Hey Dad, Let's Play, Captain Algebra, and Do You Nerd. I'm going to leave a link down in the description below. Please go check out their channels. They're so good. And just give them a subscribe, give them some views, give them some likes, guys. And thank you for watching. What's your all-time favorite system? And what games would you take with you if you were on a deserted island? And what game would you just totally avoid? Thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day.